All right, hello everyone. How's it going?
Party.
We are very excited to get kicked off with our new season of PowerShell and SQL Server through the PowerShell virtual chapter of PASS. Sorry about the hiatus we've been on. Good news though, got some more help to keep us on track now. Please help me in welcoming Chrissy Lemaire to the PowerShell virtual chapter. Chrissy is a PowerShell MVP, and there's a lot of information about her on this slide right here. Most importantly, you can find her on Twitter @CL, and she's going to be helping me get organized with finding speakers, keeping the website looking good, tracking down videos, getting them posted, all that kind of good stuff. And again, sorry for the interruption. It's all David's fault. That's my son, David. He was born last July, and that was part of the reason for the big break. And we tried to get some stuff scheduled in the in-between, and it just fell through. But we're back now. And right now we've got 2 sessions lined up, the one today, and we've also got a session by Sandra Stodd scheduled for next month, actually pretty early next month. And you can go ahead and sign up for that today. It was in the email you should have received today. And if you would like to present for the PowerShell virtual chapter of PASS, please reach out to Chrissy @CL on Twitter once again, and tell her what you can present on and when would be a good time for you, and we'll try to get you into the schedule as soon as we can. Again, next month we've already got that session lined up, and here's the info on it, and you'll see it later on today, tomorrow at the latest, on the front page of PowerShell.SQLpass.org as our next session. And for some quick housekeeping items, there are a lot of virtual chapters of the PASS organization. You can find out more of these virtual chapters at sqlpass.org/VC. There are some upcoming SQL Saturdays I'd like you to bring your attention to as well. In the US, Chicago, Boston, and Richmond, all coming up in the next couple of weeks. And over in the UK, Exeter on March 12th. Oops, sorry. In case you didn't know, all of us here at the PowerShell virtual chapter are volunteers, and PASS would not exist without volunteers, and they always need more volunteers. People are like me, sometimes have their wife has a baby and they have to drop out for a little while, or they get switched in career paths, and that opens up an opportunity to volunteer where they had been volunteering before. Please take a look at volunteer.sqlpass.org and keep your profile up to date for things that you would be interested in volunteering. Final slide about PASS before we move on. In case you came to this via Twitter today and aren't familiar with PASS, PASS is the international organization, it's the professional organization of SQL Server. You can find us at sqlpass.org, @SQLpass on Twitter, and we've also got LinkedIn and Facebook pages. Finally, I want to turn it over to Jeff Wouters. Jeff is a PowerShell MVP. Today's session is going to be PowerShell Unbound tips and tricks. And as it says here, this session is all about tips and tricks you can use in PowerShell, mostly practical, some improved performance of scripts, and others are just plain fun. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Jeff.
Okay. Can you hear me, Aaron?
Yes, I can. If you want to go ahead, and I'll hit the change presenter.
Sure.
And hopefully that'll go over to you. And if you could please, while
Start
we're waiting for
recording.
that. Yes, exactly.
Yes, sir. Okay. Well, my name is Jeff Wouters, and Chrissy Lemaire asked me to present. So here we go. Chrissy already knows this session. I did it at the Belgium PowerShell user group a few months now ago. And it was a lot of fun, and based on that session, Chrissy asked me to present over at your user group. So, my name is Jeff Wouters. I'm a DevOps automation consultant at Mythos. It's my own company. I'm a Windows PowerShell MVP. Let's see if we can make this thing go away. Yeah. And I'm a founder of the Dutch PowerShell user group back in 2011. You can find me on my blog and on Twitter. So, yeah, that's basically boring. That's me. So, that was a little bit of cat tax, and now we'll continue with the demo. So that's basically, it is a PowerShell session, not PowerPoint. So the rest will be in this screen, and I'll make it a little bit bigger so you can actually read it. So there we go. So first I'll have to run this because I'll use it later in the session. And if you ever have an issue where you get hit by access is denied or something like that, my personal best practice is to always start a PowerShell prompt in elevated mode, because when I script I don't get hit by those errors. But I always also test my scripts without elevated mode. So just to know that if the script runs under a user, for example, that isn't local admin, then they won't get hit by issues. The force parameter also works, at least sometimes, where by using force, it will try to access system resources which otherwise provides an error, but using force for, let's say, get child item will actually make it work. To my knowledge, this has something to do with user account control. I don't know the exact way it works. And there we go. Now we can continue. Let's see if I can move it up a little. There we go. Oh, that's a practical thing. Control M, the M from Minnesota. That makes regions pop in, pop out. A hexadecimal. Let's see that you have a hexadecimal of FD. By selecting this and executing it, by typing 0x and then the hexadecimal, it will automatically transform it into the binary. Decimal. That's just something practical I found out along the way. And this one, most people I see CDing into directories, like etc. What would be perhaps a better idea is, well, let's see what location we are right now. let's go to a different location. D, and then the ISO files. Pop location will make us go back to the previous location. So with set location, let's go. Come on. Let's say I've got multiple paths in my script. First, I go to ISOs, then to modules. By using set location and pop location, you can go back one level. And something is going wrong here. Anyway, the way it should work is that you go back first to this directory, then to this directory, and then to the directory we were originally at. It really doesn't work anymore. So I have to look up what was going on there. It should work. But also location can be pretty useful to know where my script is located, for example. If you execute this, nothing happens. This has a reason. Let's see. I've got my invocation, my command, path. If I copy this into this one, PScript root, well, let's first take a look what PScript root does. Test.ps1. That's the location the script is located at. So the PScript root parameter is available in any script that runs. You can also use this. Then it doesn't only tell you the directory, but also the script name. And even better, the get ps call stack parameter command gives you the following. It tells you the entire stack of command calls that led to actually executing this command. So if you have a module that runs a script that calls another module, which in turn calls, let's say, for example, a function within that module, and that function runs a specific command, then ps call stack will tell you the entire tree of execution that led to executing the get ps call stack command. I used this in the past for a logging functionality. In our situation, we wanted to know exactly how a function was executed, from what module, and even from who. So who executed this, from where, what time, etc. And we logged that to a SQL database. After that, the manager, he was like, hey, now that it is stored in a SQL database, I can do some reporting on that. And reporting in PowerShell was complicated for him, but for SQL, he had some great tools that he was able to use for that. So, the PowerShell prompt, as you can see, right now it is ps c users mythos desktop event SQL pass. However, you can change that. this is what I use at most of my blog posts where I use screenshots. In the past I had some people that were pretty annoying and stealing my blog posts. Posting them under their own name and saying like, hey, look at me. That kind of ticks me off. So the moment I found out this was possible, I started including this in all my screenshots on my blog. So if they steal a blog post right now, or steal some documentation, sure, do it. For me, it's free marketing. Thank you. So in CSharp, you've got the possibility to use is to fill a variable. However, this is something I recently learned. You can create a function for the is. And this is the content. So the moment I'm using is, what is not supposed to work in PowerShell, by the way, only in CSharp, I'm not getting an error. However, when I look inside the variable, ta-da! This can be useful for when you have a CSharp developer in your company and he's like, hey, the PowerShell stuff, that's pretty cool. And he'll probably start doing this at least one time because he's used to it. And this can, yeah, at least you can have some fun with them. And yeah, I like to be annoying. Next up is splatting. So this is something I don't see it as much, and it is really useful. Because some commandlets have like 25.
Hey, Jeff.
20, yeah?
Ed, can I interrupt you one second since we're talking to SQL people?
Sure.
The splatting, think of this as how you send a like a temp table full of values to a function or something instead of having to do one at a time. If you think of this as a temp table, it's a lot more helpful. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, no idea what you just said. Okay.
Exactly, because there's also
for me, the benefit of splatting is that if you have a commandlet with like 8, 9, 10 parameters with their values, then technically it's a one-liner, but come on. It's like 3, 4, 5 lines just to make it readable. And making it into a hash table. And instead of doing a dollar over here, you do an @ And this, let's fill this one, execute. You could see something flash by. Well, if you're smart, you don't trust me. Test ipconfig. There we go. That's pretty useful. So this makes it more readable. For me, that's the whole point of splatting. And now we get to where. This is where I needed to fill the files variable before I started the session. Filtering objects. Normally you do that on the left. If you have a commandlet that offers you the option to filter something by name, and that's what you want, please do that instead of doing this. But sometimes it doesn't offer you a name parameter. Maybe it offers you a filter or X filter, XML filter, a query, all kinds of those commandlets. If you can use those to filter what you need, do that. If not, you can use the where or where object parameter commandlet. However, this one can take quite some time. And you basically have 3 versions. Oh, this is something I was pretty amazed at actually, but apparently this little thing, $_ was too freaking complicated to memorize or something. That's why the PowerShell team included this one, PS item. Personally, I like this one. First, because I learned it the first, and only afterwards I learned about this. Secondly, $_ is used inside a switch, where PS item. I've never seen it actually in a switch, so don't even know if it's possible. But $_ for me is the way to go. PS item, oh sure, if you want. And then PowerShell team included without the squiggly things around it. However, this syntax only works with 2 comparisons. So name like Windows or name like PowerShell, for example. Any more comparisons and it will not understand what you want to do. This one was introduced in PowerShell version 4 because of desired state configuration. Well, it's basically where object. However, it was turned into a method. And I'll show you. The top one takes, well, I can tell you right now already, but it takes about 20 seconds. Which is, well, not that bad actually. But this one was introduced because of a desired state configuration. It has a little bit more difficult syntax, just a little, but it was intended for developers that are developing for desired state configuration. Well, about 30 seconds actually. That takes a pretty long time. So let's compare that to the where method. This is where you'll probably be amazed, at least I was. And there we should be going. 30 seconds versus 9.3 seconds. However, if we do it again, we'll get about the same result. Maybe a little faster, maybe a little slower. Oh, there we go. The thing why this is way more faster is, first of all, it is not using the pipeline. The pipeline is great. It offers great functionality, but it is very, very slow. So if you can avoid it, I think it's more preferable. When in PowerShell version 3, if there wasn't a commandlet or parameter for it, or you had something stored in the variable, you could pretty much only use where object. Doing it this way is very fast. It caches what it does, and instead of rebuilding what it's about to do every single iteration, it just builds what it wants to do once, caches that, and fills in the placeholders for, let's say, example, this and or this. So when it doesn't need to build the action every single time, it goes way faster. Secondly, again, it's not using the pipeline. So, downside, a little bit more difficult. The upside, it doesn't go anywhere near the performance of the other one, of where object. So, that's a pretty cool improvement. And also, we were told this at the MVP Summit, at the last session of the day, I believe, 5 minutes before the day ended. And we were like, dude, this is huge. And they mentioned it, well, yeah, we did that because of DSC. And then we started testing it in the evening. We're like 4, 5, 6 laptops on the table and performance testing this. And there was one situation where we found a 16-time performance improvement over a very bad syntax versus this new one. That is huge. To give you an idea, where, but also for each is possible. And if I'm not mistaken, no, not that one. So at least 2 of those methods. That's pretty cool. And I see something blinking. So are there any questions? Let's take a look. Can you repeat the last 20 seconds?
That was a while ago.
No.
And I don't know exactly what it was either. But the question there with the green flag on the push location.
What was the question about that?
If you push dash location, then pop it, does it remove it from the stack and thus pop won't take you anywhere?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. By the way, for the people, the session is recorded, so I think you guys will place it online somewhere.
Yes, we'll put it on our YouTube channel, and we'll also put it next to a picture of you on our presenters page in our meeting archive.
Oh, no pictures, please. So
Twitter picture. It's flattering.
okay. PowerShell has a lot of drives, PS drives. So when you take a look at the PS drives, you've got the HKLM drive. So that's Registry. The beauty about this is that you can basically browse the registry as you are browsing a file system, a directory. The same goes for a SQL server. You can browse it like a database becomes a directory. That is the look and feel you get. You have to handle it a little bit different, but it feels the same. That's useful. Not for you SQL guys, you know SQL by heart, but I'm a Windows guy. I'm an admin, an AD admin. So for me, this was amazing. I saw it at SQL and I was like, hey, cool, I can manage databases from PowerShell without SQL commandlets.
Jeff, it actually maps directly to our Object Explorer in SQL Management Studio, so we're actually very familiar with it.
Okay, I believe you. There we go. Now we get to my favorite. Oh, sorry. So, I've got 2 variables, name and event. And if I store them in RAM, the difference between single and double quotes. It's pretty straightforward, actually. Single quotes means literally what it says. So, hello, my name is $name is literally outputted. If you put double quotes on it, it transforms the variable into the value of the variable. But you can also format a string. You can use formatting and variables the same way. However, if you use single quotes with formatting, like I'm doing in line 73, it will work. However, in line 74, I'm trying to use formatting, but also a variable name. That doesn't work, so use double quotes. One major benefit of this, I'm using a lot of dates. I'm always doing stuff with dates. I don't know why, but over the years it basically went that way. Over here, I'm using the getDate once, and I'm reusing it through string formatting over and over and over again. So calculating the date, I'm only doing once and I'm reusing it. That's pretty useful, because the less you calculate, the faster it gets. Let me take a, oh yeah, that one. Formatting. Format table, for example. All the format commandlets you do last. This is why. Once you have a format commandlet, once you use the format commandlet, it deserializes the PowerShell object. So after that, you can't do anything with it except actually, piping it straight out to file. Then the literal output is written to a file. And the moment the format commandlet is done with it, you can't sort anymore, you can't group, you can't anything. So some time ago I was part of a discussion, and I was pretty amazed actually. But get command verb format. Well, format hex, format list, format table, that's not much of a problem. But format secure boot UEFI of a UEFI, and even worse, format volume. So let's take a freak scenario here. Let's say you've got a variable. That's a better example. And you do for each format volume. And you do this. What if in var you've got a value with, let's say for example D, just the letter D, nothing more. You do it like this. So this is why I'm a huge fan of the WhatIf parameter. Anything that's dangerous, like format, set, remove, whatever, if it has a WhatIf parameter, I'm using it. And this I'm not executing just because. And if you take a look at the commands, get command parameter WhatIf. On my system, there are 157 commandlets that have the WhatIf parameter. So to give you an idea, use it. This one I learned from fellow PowerShell MVP Trevor Sullivan. I don't know the exact official name. I don't even know if it has an official name. But we call it variable squeezing. Let's say you've got get process. You put it in a variable. Now, how do you output it also to the screen? Most people call the variable, like so. However, if you put, I can't remember the name, those things around it, it both fulfills the variable with the output and it puts the output to the screen.
That's very helpful. I wish I had done that.
That was me too. Oh well. Over time you learn. And let's take a typecasting. This is something I use very consciously when I want to enforce something of a certain type. If you have a variable, you make it a string. Well, let's check it. Yeah, it's a string. And we have an integer. Check. Yep, it's an integer. No surprise there. Now let's say I've got a string and I want to put an integer into it. Will this work? Well, actually, yes, because PowerShell is kind enough to look at the content you are trying to put into a variable. And it looks at the content and it says, hey, this is an integer. Can I make it into a string? If so, okay, I'm doing it. Because you want to execute this. So probably you know what you're doing. And I'm helping you. However, that doesn't always work. If I remove those variables and start with a clean slate, you can also, instead of defining the type on the left side, so at the variable name side, you can define it at the variable content side on the right of the is. And if you start looking at the type again, it is still a string. However, does it also work? Yep, it's still an integer. So far, so good. Here you define the content. So no matter what happens, let's do it better example. I see where I'm going wrong. Let's start back a little bit. I've got an integer. I'll make it. There we go. Here I've got an integer. So I just show you that I had a string. I put an integer into it, and it worked. So let's do the reverse. It can't transform a string into an integer. However, if you why not? Okay. If you do it like this, you can reuse I'm really going making mistakes here. So this in the example above shouldn't work. We saw that. However, now it does. If you look at integer, suddenly it became a string. So by defining the content as a type instead of the variable, you can reuse your variables. And most of the times I'm trying to script in a way where it doesn't matter what the content of the variable is. And if it does, I'm enforcing it. Either at the content side or at the variable side. I prefer at the content side. That's a personal preference. You can also, based on the type of a variable, do certain things. You can use a switch for that. Let's take a look. Ta-da. However, what you can do is, well, we have an integer, get type, the name, now we have a string. What you can also do is get type code. This is faster, get type code. So if you want to go directly into the name from the output of the getType method, I would use getType code. Let's see, I see somebody blinking again. Thank you, Chrissy. You can't hear this. I hope I can hear it from my headset. This is really something fun to do, so let's see if it works. So I hear people laughing. Great, it worked.
Can you paste that into the chat pane?
Well, you can do it better. Go to your favorite search engine. There you go. I blocked this, and there was actually a guy that responded. Let's take a look. This guy responded, and I still think some people have time, too much time, way too much time. Because here is the entire Imperial March. There we go. So this is something I did a long time ago with VBScript at high school, and based on the beeps the system gave, a student could call the system administrator and tell them, "Hey, I'm getting these beeps," and the sysadmin immediately knew what was going on. Was it the printer? Was it the network drive, etc.? Because maybe if you have older systems, then you remember that a certain beep was memory issues, other beeps was disk drive not found or whatever. That's why I got the inspiration. This is one every single PowerShell basics class I teach. People do this. They name their error variable error. The reason why you really should not do this, it already exists inside PowerShell, and even worse, it's a read-only variable. Only PowerShell can write to it. So these, with the exception of the ones I just created myself during this session, these variables you should not use. And don't worry, if you haven't done it already, you will some time in the future probably. Everybody does it once. Well, let's say you got a get process from a computer name. Oh yeah, background little. I had a manager once, and he told me the more red letters I see in your PowerShell screen, the worse I think you're doing. So if I'm hitting errors, I'm learning from them, he's thinking I'm doing a bad job. So we fix that. Let's get an error. Oh, get host has a bunch of private data. For example, the error foreground color. Well, after that time, he didn't see any red letters anymore at my screen. So I was doing a marvelous job, apparently. So really, people that don't have any clue what they're talking about, you really shouldn't start making criteria. And especially if you do that with an IT guy or girl, we find ways around it. We will. So let's go to push location. What location am I currently in? Well, you see that. But what if you don't know? And you change your prompt like I do? Get location will tell you. So what if you need to open Windows Explorer in this path? So if you select this, copy it, open an Explorer, paste it, and go there, it will probably work. What you can also do is get location, get only the path, pipe it to clip, open Explorer, and paste. Clip or clip.exe is just as the old DOS tool. You can use it. But come on, we're DOS tool, we're in PowerShell, right? Invoke item or II with behind it. This opens an Windows Explorer in the current path. Some people also like start dot. II types faster. So that's pretty useful. Last one. Like I said, you can pipe to clip. However, we have some new commandlets. I believe they were introduced in PowerShell version 4 or 5. Not sure. Anyway, you can get the clipboard and set the clipboard. Woohoo! Let's take a look. Dot sourcing. This will probably not work. Oh. Get location, sure, I'm in the wrong directory. Oh well, I just correct my script. There we go. Let's copy this one. And there. Because I'm changing it right now because this is the file I will give to Aaron and Chrissy. And they can provide it to you if they want. Or keep it for themselves. I don't mind. So ISE and a file behind it. If you do it from command prompt, it will open PowerShell ISE and open the script behind it. However, if I do this, go to here, okay, now what? It's opened. Then I have to go inside there, execute all the functions, so the functions are stored in memory, because only then I'd be able to use them. I already did that once. We'll solve that. There we go. If I execute one, the term one is not recognized as the name of the commandlet, blah 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 blah. If I dot source it, so put a dot in front of it, and also execute this line, nothing happens. However, the want function is suddenly available. So what happens here? Everything that is executed the moment the script is executed will remain available once the script has finished. By default, PowerShell executes something and cleans up afterwards. So anything that's defined within this script has the scope of this script. Once the script is done executing, anything within the script scope is gone. Dot sourcing will provide the option to load everything in here. If there is code in here that actually executes something, it will also execute it. And everything will remain available in RAM. I use this mostly for functions I use at different customers. Some customers don't want me deploying modules all over the systems, but they do allow me to put some scripts on network shares and execute scripts from that network share. They don't mind that. Don't even get me started on that security discussion, because that's not security. So Control-C, Control-V. Back when I was at the last TechEd in Europe, was TechEd Barcelona. Oh yeah, but I broke this before the session. Mark Rosinovich, I believe, showed this. Select, Control-C. Stand here, Control-V. He showed this and he almost got a standing ovation. How long did we want this? 10 years? 15? It was never in there. This is, by the way, not a PowerShell trick. It's a little bit small. Let's see if we can make it bigger. Probably can. Yeah. A little bit. La. Select, Control-C, Control-V. There we go. This change was implemented in conhost.exe, which means every console inside the Windows operating system will reap the benefits of this. This is also the mindset of the PowerShell product team. If something benefits the entire ecosystem, put it in the engine from PowerShell, put it in the parser. If it doesn't provide additional value for the entire ecosystem, that's what modules are for. This one, Control-C, Control-V, was a benefit that was beneficial for every console, not only PowerShell. So that's pretty cool. This one. This is not exactly the tweet I made, but hey, this line, it's amazing on SQL servers. Especially Windows Server 2012 SQL servers. You know why? Well, let's take a look. What if? No. This is why. Wouldn't that be cool on every SQL server you have?
Not really.
Why not? You probably have a lot of spare time afterwards.
I should have left my mic on this entire time. You would have had a great laugh track.
Yeah. That's why webcasts are a little bit different compared to audience in person.
Next time,
but it's still a lot of fun. No problem. However, I tweeted something like this regarding AD servers because, hey, I'm an Active Directory guy. I lost 11 followers that day. So apparently people trusted my tweets. You should never do that. They copy-pasted it. And there were some results from that, consequences, like rebooting servers and stuff like that. And I only rebooted. I wouldn't send a command like remove all your trusts or whatever. That would be very nasty.
Wow. Hey, Jeff, we've got about 2 minutes left. So just wanted to give a minute for if anyone's got any questions to chime in with those real quick. And the number one question, of course, is always, will this be recorded and will the slides and code be available? Well, there wasn't really much to slides, but Jeff already mentioned having the code available. So yes, that'll be made available, and so will the video as soon as we get it processed.
Great. Okay, then I'll finish up in like 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Perfect.
This line basically says this. Ed Wilson, the Microsoft scripting guy, has written a script to go into your script and replace all the aliases and positional parameters with the full name of the alias of the commands and of the parameter. Because troubleshooting 2 lines of code like this, I'm not doing that ever. So almost the last one, because I'm saving that top one for last. PS Drive, like I said, there are quite a few. There we go. There's also a function drive. When you go in there, treat it as a drive, you see files, functions in this case. There's a function in PowerShell, convert from stdl string. Pipe it to clip. Execute, new one, paste. There we go. This is how the convert from stdl commandlet works. So there are a lot of technologies in there, like System Center Operations Manager, for example, that have very few commandlets and a lot of functions. You can learn from that. And the last one, oh, by the way, if the function isn't in there, do an import module first and then it will be available. The last one, and I need sound for this, so here we go.
Lovely.
And that's why you should never trust the internet.
So Jeff, thanks for the presentation. We've got one question in the queue that I wanted to hit real quick.
Sure.
It says, I missed where he said that Control-C, Control-V is implemented in the com.exe. Is that a certain Windows version?
I don't fully understand the question. Basically, conhost is the console every other console in Windows is based on or should be based on.
What version of Windows allows that to the Control-C, Control-V to work?
I believe it was Windows 8, but don't pin me on that.
I thought so as well.
I think so too. And also you can use the module PS read line for the older versions of Windows, and that'll help you copy and paste as well.
So PS read line, this is very awesome to look at. And before I forget, and I promised him to do it every single time at every presentation, do a find package IZ steroids install package. This will basically install a tool, start steroids, hoppa. This takes like 10 seconds. There we go. Good evening. This is IZ steroids and basically adds a heck of a lot of functionality to IZ. Functionality Visual Studio people actually are missing in here. And Tobias expands as needed, as he basically needs it, but this is very useful. And then I've got 2 slides left. Yes, I actually have slides. Any questions? Well, and if not, thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff. This is actually one of my favorite sessions, and so I hope in the future you can keep following me wherever I go. I can keep taking you wherever I go. So thanks again. I'm really happy that this was recorded, because when we did it at the Belgian PowerShell user group, it wasn't. And I kind of lost track of what had happened, but I knew that I learned a lot. And so this will be put on YouTube, and it's something that I'll go back to. Because every time I'm like, oh yeah, that's true, and that's awesome. And with the last one, it was shorter, so I didn't even realize that you had the function equals the is, which is super cool. So thanks again.
I learned that a week ago.
Oh, nice. Awesome. So sorry, everyone. I wasn't available earlier because I had the good fortune of all my clustered storage falling offline. My name is Chrissy Lemaire. I am the new co-lead for the PowerShell virtual user group for SQL Pass. And I did notice a couple questions that maybe I can jump in and ask. Someone, Jamie Shell, had asked, I'm new in this company and we keep getting new instances popping up weekly, no good inventory. How can I use PowerShell to scan my network to find all the SQL instances? And I thought I had actually blogged about this years ago, but I checked my blog and I couldn't find it right off. I used about 5 tools, and maybe this is a refresher that I can use. The answer is yes, you can use PowerShell, but it's probably good to use PowerShell in conjunction with a number of other servers. And you should also consider consolidation in, working with those that are existing and popping up, bringing that down to a smaller number. The other questions is, can we monitor internal DB parameters through PowerShell? The answer is probably yes, but I haven't done it. But the last one was, example, get monitoring alert when anybody tries to disable auto update stats. Whenever I'm working with PowerShell and SQL Server, a lot of times I'll look at it to see if maybe it should be done in SQL Server as well. This sounds like it's ideal for a SQL Server alert in the job server, but I'll look into this deeper for you and actually post it on PowerShell.sqlpass.org. And I haven't seen the others. Yeah. Can you take it from here, Aaron?
Well, with that, yeah, there's just several of them saying thanks, what fun, thank you, and all that. So with that, we want to go ahead and say thank you to Jeff, and thank you everyone for joining us. Again, we'll have another session here in just a couple weeks. Please check your email for that, or sign up today from the email that you received. And again, we'll get this up to YouTube as quick as we can.